الحمد لله الذي علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان والصلاة والسلام على خير الأنام نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين صلوا على رسول الله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد صلاة تفتح لنا أبواب الرضا والتيسير وتغلق بها عنا أبواب الشر وتعسير أنت مولانا فنعم المولى ونعم النصير اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Dua request for my grandmother. She's very sick. She cannot move anymore. She's kind of bedridden. So health usually starts to deteriorate. So please make dua for Shifa, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Malik Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين يا رب العالمين. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to benefit from the knowledge of Imam al-Nawawi. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Imam al-Nawawi, he mentions in this chapter that the student, when he studies from the best. Doesn't just choose whoever, but he chooses the best teacher. Imam al-Nawawi, he says, the student does not study except from someone whose competence is complete, his religiosity visible, and has achieved ma'rifah, and is well known as a person free of debilitating problems. Meaning that when he chooses a teacher, he chooses someone that is kamil, someone that is complete. Their studies are complete, their character is complete, the religiosity is there, it's visible. This is the type of a teacher that a person should look out for and seek. Especially one who is close to the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Someone who is kamil, someone who is mutqin in his knowledge, someone who actually knows what they're talking about. And then someone who is also righteous on top of that. Because as Muhammad ibn Sirin, Malik ibn Anas, Muhammad ibn Sirin, he's famous for what? The book on dream interpretations, right? From amongst the great tabi'een, Muhammad ibn Sirin and Malik ibn Anas. You all know Malik ibn Anas, Imam Malik. And other of the Salaf, they said, هذا العلم دين. This knowledge that you're studying, it's not just any knowledge, it's religion itself. فانظروا عمن تأخذون دينكم. So be very careful as to who you take your religion from. Be very careful who you take your knowledge from. Let's say you sit in front of someone, nowadays especially with YouTube and Google and whatnot, people are watching videos of YouTube of people who present themselves as sheikh. It's not hard. I'm telling you, you want to be known as sheikh? Buy a bisht, 100 riyals, get a big beard, white topi, white jubba, khalas, you're sheikh. You are literally wearing what the muftis of mashallah haramain are wearing. You're sheikh. That's all it takes. Video, camera. I mean, I'm doing it too, but that's because I have a long background of study. Okay? Anybody can record durus, anybody can record hadith, right? It's so easy. Astaghfirullah. فَانظُرُوا عَمَّن تَأْخُذُونَ دِينَكُمْ. Be very careful. Ask, what are their qualifications? Where did they study? Who are their teachers? Who approves what they're saying? Where is their sanad? لَوْلَا الْإِسْنَادِ. If it wasn't for this chain of narration, if it wasn't for us being connected to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam by means of our teachers and our teachers' teachers, and like this, and not just hadith, but in all of our sciences, anyone would say whatever they want to say. لَقَالَ مَنْ شَاءَ مَا شَاءَ. Whoever wants to speak about religion, they'll just start opening their mouths and start talking, which we see is very prevalent today. So al-hadar, be very careful as to who you take religious matters from. It should be from someone that you trust in not just their knowledge, but also in their religiosity. That this person, I believe, is close to Allah, and I think and I believe that this person can lead me to Allah Azza wa Jal. And some of our mashayikh, they used to say, Allahumma dullani ala man yadulluni alayk. Ya Allah, guide me to who can guide me to you. Guide me to teachers and people that will guide me to you. What a beautiful dua, subhanallah. Right? And also it shows us how important it is to talk to those people that are specialists in their fields. Okay? And again, if you have a teacher and he has bad character, he's harsh, he doesn't know what he's talking about, what is going to happen to the student? He's going to end up becoming a mirror image of his teacher. Bad character, bad this, not knowing basic adab. So that's why it's very, very important that you study with people that you trust in their religiosity and knowledge. Allahumma ja'alna minhum ya Rabb. Then Imam al-Nawawi, he then goes to talk about respecting the teacher. The student must look to his teacher with the eye of respect. Believe in his competence completely. Know that this teacher, he's teaching you because he is deserving of this status. and his superiority over his contemporaries. This is after you choose a teacher. Not you just go to every single person and you're like, yeah, you're the best. La, la, la. You have a mukh. Allah gave you an intellect. You use what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you to choose the teachers that you want and to base it off of what you believe is a good teacher and whatnot. So, to believe that this teacher, he is deserving of teaching you and he is superior over his contemporaries. Meaning that the more you respect your teacher means the more you would be able to gain knowledge, absorb his knowledge. If you don't respect your teacher, you think you're going to benefit from him? If you don't respect the person teaching you, then what are you going to gain from that knowledge? And I can say this for myself. Anytime I've had a teacher that I've had love for and respect for, it's as though the quality of the teachers I start seeing in my own self. The way he talks, the way he speaks, the way he does even normal things. But if I don't like someone and their character is bad and I'm like, this person is not even qualified to teach me, no matter what he says, if I just that mindset alone will tell me I don't want to benefit from him. That's what we have to be very, very careful. So he's reminding us, this is how we should have respect towards our teachers. Since this makes it more likely that one will benefit from his teacher. One scholar from the Salaf, from the earlier generations, he would give something in charity whenever he went to his teacher. He would give something in charity, okay? And then he would say, Allahumma astur ayba muallimi anni wa la tudhib barakata ilmihi minni. Subhanallah. Say Ameen Ya Rabb. Ya Allah, cover my teacher's faults from me. Don't let me see my teacher's faults. Because once I start seeing his faults, then I won't be able to benefit from him as much. Subhanallah. And do not take the barakah of his knowledge away from me. Do not take the barakah of his knowledge away from me. Subhanallah. Imam Rabi', okay, he mentioned he was a closest student to Imam Shafi'i, and he took the most knowledge from him. He said, I did not venture to drink water while Imam Shafi'i was looking at me out of veneration for him. Meaning that the students had so much adab. We hear this, these are like fantasy stories, like fairy tales. He would be too shy to drink water in front of his teacher out of haiba for him, out of veneration for him. I can't do this. And I know growing up that when our teachers were around, we used to carry ourselves in a different way. We used to sit in a certain way. We used to hold ourselves in a certain manner. And even now, alhamdulillah. There's a beautiful story that I wanted to share of Imam Sheikh Abdul Fattah Abu Ghudda. Sheikh Abdul Fattah Abu Ghudda, you all know, rahimahullah. Whenever he wanted, and this is about adab, okay? Sheikh Abdul Fattah, whenever he would sit with one of my teachers, his students, he would do ishara to him that he was thirsty. He wouldn't say it directly. So you know how he would say it? He said, do you think that Zamzam, cooler has any water? What would he say? Do you think that Zamzam cooler has any water? What is he trying to point to? Can you get me some water? But he's saying it with so much adab, so much politeness. Look how much khuluq these scholars had. That he didn't say, go get me water. You're my student, I'm saying it to you. It's no problem. But he would say, do you think that cooler has any Zamzam? So that the student would realize and then go up and do it. SubhanAllah, that is what our teachers, that's what ulama do. Ulama Rabbaniyun, they don't just teach knowledge, but they teach you with it adab. This is something that we are really, really lacking nowadays. Lil-asaf al-shadid. Sheikh AbdulRazzak Junaid al-Sud, one of the great qurra, one of the great scholars of Syria, he used to say that whoever is من حرم بركة أهل زمان المحروم من حرم بركة أهل زماني. Basically, the one who's deprived, the really one who's mahroom, deprived of goodness, is the one who is deprived from the blessings of the people of his time, meaning from the scholars of his time, the awliya of his time. Because sometimes we get so lost in stories of the past and we start to look so far away that we forget that there's so many righteous people around us. There's awliya around us, there's scholars around us, and we're just thinking of this dream image of what they're supposed to look like. But rather, we are supposed to take benefit from those that are within our midst. They say, Azhadun nas anil alim ahluhu wa dhawu. The most deprived people of benefiting from the scholar, you would be surprised, are his own family. Are his own family. You know how many nikahs I perform? And counseling calls that I have to do? And just 2 today, 2 yesterday, the stories that I have to hear and deal with. And I'm sure this is the case for all imams because I speak to all of them. But when it comes to nikahs that happen in my own family, they're not the last person that they think of. Oh, our nephew, Sheikh AbdulRazzak. That's the last thing that they think of. أزهد الناس عن العالم أهله وذووه. This is always the case, subhanAllah. Imam Abu Hanifa, his own mother, she wouldn't ask him questions. Imam Abu Hanifa, الناس عيال في الفقه على أبي حنيفة. There was no one in the time of Abu Hanifa who's more knowledgeable than him. And yet, the mother of Abu Hanifa, she wouldn't go to him. You know who she would go to? Some other person. And then that person, he doesn't know the answers, so what would he do? He'd go to Abu Hanifa, what are the answers to these questions your mom is asking me? And then he'd go and tell, subhanAllah, this is even from Imam Abu Hanifa, he had to deal with this. فَمَا بَالُكَ بِغَيْرِهِ. We relate that the commander of the faithful, Ali radiallahu anh, he said, and this is a very, very beautiful quote, the rights the teacher has over you include that you give greetings to people in general, but single him out with greetings to the exclusion of the rest. And I remember explicitly when I was growing up, my mother, mashallah, may Allah bless her, she used to always teach me adab of the teacher. She said, don't just sit down in class. First thing you do, go give salams to your sheikh. Go give salams to your sheikh and then go sit down. Don't just go and sit in Quran class. No. Go give salams, adab, and then ilm. Etiquettes, khuluq, and then the knowledge comes. And especially, just realize that if a person shows good character to their teacher, what is that usually going to do for the teacher? His heart is going to open up for him, and he's going to give more prioritization. He's going to start caring more about that student. This goes even for parents, how they deal with a teacher. If the teacher sees that the parents, mashallah, they're muhtameen, they're respectful, they're this, they're that, they're caring for their child, without subconsciously even, he might just prioritize that student and start to focus on that child and that student more. Not just child, but student more. So giving the salams not just to everyone, but specifically singling out and honoring the teacher. They include sitting in front of him. Jibreel alayhi salam, when he came, he sat in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, knee to knee, like that. Sitting in front of him. Not pointing with your hand in his company. Again, when we read these things, it's like, I don't know, we're reading some fairy tales. Not pointing with your hands in his company. That's how much adab they used to have, subhanAllah. Not winking your eye at someone. This is sometimes, when I'm dealing with deen teens and whatnot, again, age group and this, that. Like, amongst themselves, they'll be whispering. You shouldn't do that in front of your teacher, okay? And nowadays with Zoom calls, if you're on a Zoom meeting with your teacher, don't be messaging here and there. No, give your teacher the full attention. And don't be involved with the people around and talking to them, okay? No, nor citing a position contrary to his. This is something that we really need to learn. Don't go to a sheikh and be like, the sheikh says something in a class, you'd be like, oh, but that sheikh says this. That's disrespectful. There's ways to approach it, okay? Don't mention by name. Don't say, sheikh, but what do you think about this opinion? I heard it, I don't know. Maybe you can give some clarification. Bil adab. Don't say, oh, but Sheikh Fulan says this. Oh, but Dr. Fulan says this. That's not how you approach your teacher, and that's not the way you should carry that conversation. Of course, not to the point where everything your teacher says, you just accept it ala ra'si wal ayn. Of course, Allah gave you intellect. You're going to disagree with your teacher. I disagree with my teachers. My teachers disagree with their teachers. This is normal nature of human beings that they disagree. But bil adab, with etiquettes. That's the most important thing. Okay? Not to mention by name. Nor backbiting anyone when in his presence. Don't go to the teacher and be like, what do you think of Sheikh Fulan or that person or this teacher or that imam or this? Don't mention people. They're not there, don't mention them. And I'm telling you from experience, whenever you bring up other teachers in front of a sheikh, it's just the nature of the ghira that he has over his students and ilm and whatnot. He's usually not going to mention them in good. They're usually not going to mention them in praise. So just avoid mentioning names in front of people. And they include not conferring with someone sitting near you while in his audience. Again, not talking to people around you, nor grabbing his garment. Nor being insistent when he has reservations and he's busy and he's tired. I had a student that, he would always want to read to me. He'd be like, Sheikh, please. And he would grab you, Sheikh, please. Don't do that. هذا قليل الأدب. That's not having manners with your teacher. Please. You know how some students do that. Can you please, come on, just one more hadith, one more. Can you just listen to me, one more page, one more ayah? No. If he has reservations, he's busy, he's tired, leave the guy alone. Don't pester him and bother him. Okay? And not being inharmonious such that you become fed up with accompanying him after a length of time. that you do not become bored of his company, even though you've spent such a long time with him. And I know this, that no matter how long I've spent time with my teachers, because they're actively engaged in reading and studying and research, I spend 4 or 5 years with a teacher, I still benefit from them. Because they're learning new things. And also, from the adab that I learned from my own teachers, Sheikh Sa'id Bakdash, whenever he calls me on the phone, he said, "Ma akhbaru al-ilmi wal-ulama." He is in his 60s. He's spent over 40 years dedicated to research, tahqiq. He has over, I don't know, maybe close to 200 volumes, individual volumes published. Okay? Critical editions on many Hanafi works. This is a grand scholar. And he asks me, who is, still in, about to be 30 in a few years, okay? Who's nothing compared to the Shaykh. And he always asks me, "Ma akhbaru al-ilmi wal-ulama?" Is there anything interesting that you've read? Is there anything interesting that you did today, that you learned? He asks me. And then when I send him quotes or books or this, that, he doesn't say, who is this student to send me stuff? No, but he has a positive response to it. Unless, of course, then when you overstep your bounds, then the Shaykh has to remind you. I remember one of my teachers, he said that when he got his, Shaykh Sa'id again, when he got his PhD, his teacher, who was his professor, he said to him, "Tasawat al-ama'im." Now the ama'im, the amama I wear and the one you wear is equal now. He's joking with him, meaning that you have a doctorate degree, I have a doctorate degree. But he's saying that, but he doesn't really mean it. He's kind of teaching him humility, saying that although you just got your doctorate degree, I've been engaged in research for 30 years, okay? So it's not the same. You see, it's not the same. So he says it with so much humility though, with adab, bil ishara, subhanAllah. The student should discipline himself with these beautiful characteristics that Ali radiallahu anhu referred to, okay? Also the student, he leaves any anytime he hears someone backbiting his shaykh, he defends him, okay? Whenever he's able to do so. And if he's unable to do so, then he leaves that gathering. فَلَا تَقْعُدُوا مَعَهُمْ حَتَّى يَخُوضُوا فِي حَدِيثٍ غَيْرِهِ. Right? So if you hear someone talking ill about your shaykh, your imam, someone you respect, then if you can say something to defend them, sure. If it's not the right time, right place, and it's just a gathering you shouldn't be in the first place, then just leave. That's the best thing you could do. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us akhlaq of Quran. اللهم اجعلنا من أهل القرآن الذين هم أهلك وخاصتك وصلى اللهم على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. بارك الله فيكم. الحمد لله.